How's it going, guys? We're back today talking about just a whole random load of things that you might want to know for your fish tank. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about today, something that a lot of people don't know when getting into the fish keeping hobby, and that's aerating your water. So what does this mean? We want there to be a good supply of oxygen within the water so that the fish are happy, healthy, and will live a long life for you to look at forever. So the way you want to do this, and a lot of people don't realize this needs to be done, is have water movement. So if you look, I have my fish tanks pretty low right now, and that's just for the sake of the video. All the water on the top of the tank is getting exposed to oxygen. That means all this water is getting oxygenized, which is going to be really good for your fish. Now, one way to oxygenize your water is to have a lot of water movement on the surface. So the way to tell this is working is if the top of your water is rippling. That means the water that's on the surface is constantly fluctuating so that all the water is hitting a little piece of oxygen. This is going to be good to keep your fish healthy, and if you want to look up the science behind it, we can maybe talk about that in another video. It'd be too much to talk about right now. So basically what you want to do is have water movement on the top for the first way to oxygenize your water. For the second way, and this is more commonly known, you can get an air pump with a bubble stone and have bubbles flowing up from the bottom to the top of your fish tank. A lot of people like this. They'll put it in decorations, like a little treasure chest or a clam or something that opens up, has water going. It looks really cool. It looks great in your fish tank, and it also does a super good job of keeping your water aerated. So this not only looks great, but it also is effective in helping your fish tank. So I actually have one in the back. I have mine in a sponge filter, so that does both clean the water and oxygenizes the tank, as well as I like to keep a little bit of water flow on the top of the surface using a hang-on-back filter. So that's one thing most people in the fish hobby don't realize, but it's good to do. You want to keep your water aerated, keep your fish happy and healthy. So the second thing we're going to be talking about today is lighting. Now, this is a really debated topic in the fish keeping industry. For a few main reasons. The biggest one is algae blooms. So one thing, the dreaded algae bloom that all fish keepers don't like to see is when the whole front of your tank is covered in green slime. All your decorations, plants, rocks, hardscape, all gets covered in algae. Not a fun day of cleaning. So to avoid this, a lot of people say it's a problem to do with your lighting. So what you want to do is essentially put your light on a timer. So this is going to be the first step. You want to make sure you have a timer for your light so that your lighting is consistent. So for me, I wake up pretty early and I go to sleep pretty late. So I like to look at my fish tank with the light on for longer hours during the day. Now, most people recommend you don't keep your fish tank light on for over 12 hours. And that's a good rule of thumb. If you have to go over 12 hours, there's some things you can do to adjust, which we'll talk about. But preferably keep your light on for only 12 hours, for a scheduled 12 hours a day. So the second thing to do, we talked about if you want to keep it longer hours, which I tend to do, you want to make sure your light is dimmer. So if you have it for shorter hours, you can have more intense lighting. But if you have it for longer hours, you need less intense lighting. So it's a give and take between those two of length of time versus intensity of brightness. So for me, I keep mine about 14, 15 hours a day. So I keep a very, very dim lighting. This helps so that I don't get too much algae blooming, and that overall keeps your tank pretty healthy. Don't worry though if you do get algae blooms. That's completely natural. There's some things you can do to prevent that. One thing is you can get some fish that eat algae. So some of those are autocinclids. Some mollies will eat algae, and then some Siamese algae eaters. So throw some of those in your tank. Those all pretty peaceful fish, and yeah, they'll eat some of the algae out of your tank. That way, if you're getting some of those algae blooms, you have fish that are cool to look at that are helper fish. So that was the second thing we're going to talk about was lighting. Make sure you got that lighting toned in so you don't get crazy algae blooms. Next thing we're going to be talking about, and this is a big question for beginner fish keepers, is basic plants. So I mentioned in another video on the website that if you want to get a little more advanced, if you're starting out a fish tank with the 10-gallon recommended fish tank that I'm giving you, if you want to get a little more advanced, you can put some plants in there. These plants are great to look at. They're really healthy for the fish. They help taking out some of the nutrients from the water or from the gravel or sand, wherever you got. Overall, they're really good. Plants are, I mean, if you look at what they have in nature, there's fish that are pooping everything, the plants take it and create it. It's a whole cycle. So sometimes it's good to have that cycle in your fish tank. And also it's really great to look at. So if you're thinking about getting plants, there's a few easy plants that you can get. You don't have to change your entire tank. One thing people worry about is they just put some sand in there, they have some decorations, and they go, oh, well, I don't have soil or any nutrients, I can't put plants in. But there's some ways to get around that. First thing, you can get some easy plants that will attach onto rock. Actually, if you look in the back, I have a fish eating the algae off the thing right now. That's kind of cool. Okay, so first thing you can do, a little sidetrack. First thing you can do is take plants that will attach onto rocks and wood. These are going to be plants like Java fern, Java moss, lots of types of Anubias, and yeah, those are really the basic ones, those three right there. The reason these are so easy is they actually take nutrients out of the water column. So what that means is they don't need to be planted. Any of the nutrients just kind of floating around the water will get sucked in by the plants, and that's how they grow. So you can really just place them onto any rocks or sticks or anything like that. They don't have to be planted in the soil. The second thing you can do to get around having to start a tank planted is there's these things called root tabs. You can buy these tabs. I have a whole links page on my website of a bunch of different websites you can go and buy tools and utilities, things like that. Go on those websites, check them out, look up root tabs. And how these work, you basically take these tabs, you stuff them into the sand or gravel of your tank, and then you plant around these tabs, and those provide nutrients for the different plants. This will allow you to basically take any plant from the fish store that you want, that you've been eyeballing, stick that in your tank, and there'll be some sort of nutrients for them to use to grow. So those are some ways you can start planting in your fish tank. I would recommend just starting with some easy plants to grow. Those are the same ones I mentioned earlier, Java fern, Java moss. Those are super easy to grow, very hard to kill. And same with Anubias. Those are also really hard to kill. So take a shot at it and see how it goes. Also, if you're going for the root tab method, try some cryptocorynes. Those are also real easy to grow. One thing to look out for, try YouTubing melting. We won't talk about it in this video, but just a brief overview. When you get plants from big name stores like PetSmart, Petco, things like that, they grow all their plants out of water. So when you put them in the water, they'll die back and grow new plants that are new leaves and things like that are adjusted to the water. So if you see your plant dying after you just bought it, don't throw it away. Give it some time. Maybe chop off the leaves that are melting when they look like they're kind of shriveling. Chop off those, and then you'll start to see new plants growing from the roots you bought. One thing to know when you buy plants, most plants you're really just buying for the roots. And yeah, so just keep that in mind. Don't worry if your plants are dying off right as you buy them. They'll grow back. They're plants. Most plants are pretty hardy. Just make sure you're putting nutrients in the water. And that leads us to the last thing we're going to talk about is nutrients in the water. We talked about plants getting nutrients from the water column, and those are mostly plants that are on rocks and sticks and wood and things like that. So what you want to do is buy some sort of chemical agent that'll put nutrients in the water for those plants. Now, I personally have been using Seachem's Flourish. This has been kind of a pain in the butt with this product, if I'm being honest. I don't recommend it. It leaks a lot when you have it on a shelf. For some reason, I think it expands after you open it and pour it out. The shaking, I think it expands or something. I've yet to figure out why, but there's lots of products out there. I believe API makes some nutrients for the actual water column. But yeah, take a look around. Again, go to the links page that I have on my website and take a look at those websites and see what type of water nutrients they have for plants. And yeah, and take a shot at it. But just you want to make sure you have some sort of nutrients in the water. You're going to hear a lot about CO2 and other things that plants need don't worry about that for now. Stick with the simple, easy plants. Just make sure you got nutrients in the water, and you'll be good. So yeah, those are the 3 topics we're covering today. I hope that helped. Aerating the water, lighting parameters, and basics of planting. So I hope this helped. Hope you guys have a great day.